Since the first specimen was discovered scratching false blazes on mountain trails, the Wampus cat has been blamed for a variety of forest tribulations. If a Wampus wades a stream, fish won't bite for 7 days. When the Wampus is on the prowl, the only game abroad is the full hen. The howl of the Wampus on a lonely night will curdle a crock of sourdough. Females of the species may be killed only with a crosscut saw. The males, practically indestructible, carry in their fur the germ of blister rust. Under the influence of a full moon, the glare from their eyes starts forest fires. Their footprints are visible only in solid rock. They steal prospectors' picks to brush their teeth. Now the Wampus, still abundant in its native Idaho, and particularly large and violent during the season when the crop of dudes yields a bushel to the picket line, has an opportunity to redeem itself. A favorite pastime of the feline is snatching eagles. Trappers on the Salmon River are plagued, they say, with eagles killing deer. The game department is angry with the eagles and seeking a solution to a vexing problem. Eagle lovers, their name has been legion, are angry with the game department. The simple solution suggested by the Wampus Society, which is composed of every man who has seen a rampant Wampus cat at dusk menacing a mountain lion with a jackhammer, is that the burden be turned over to the Wampus breed. Once the Wampus reaches the eagle country, the feathers will fly. Nature has endowed the marvelous cat with an amazing right forearm. It works like a folding pruning hook on the pantographic principle. The Wampus lurks on a craggy promontory, with its tufted ears a saint like the budding prongs of a young goat, and its voice softened from the customary howl of a disenfranchised banshee to the bleat of a kid. When an eagle approaches, Strange Arm shoots out with astonishing speed and direction. The eagle is caught and reeled in. So for one, the Wampus cat kind of feels like a Looney Tunes character with all the hijinks it can get up to, and also like, you know, the extendable arm or whatever. But also there would be stories around it that made it make sense to the people who were in the area. For example, apparently eagles used to be a problem. Well, now they're not. Oh, it's because of the Wampus cat. There's also mention that the Wampus cat is at peace with the native people of the land, and because of that, they don't hunt it. That's the reason you'll never see their fur for sale at any trade post. And you can see how all of these details would feed into the mind of someone who might believe these stories. That being said, I also just like the idea of like a comedically fictional cat grabbing eagles out of the air. That's hilarious. For another absurdly over-the-top story, we have the whiffin-poof. A tasty fish found only in perfectly round lakes, hence quite rare. To catch him, row to the exact center of the lake, using the hog yoke to determine position, and bore a square hole in the water. Bait the edge of this hole with a bit of cheese, preferably brie, Stilton, Liederkranz, or best of all, Limburger. The whiffin-poof will quickly scent the bait and come for it. When he emerges, spit tobacco juice in his eye. This will make him so swell with rage that he won't be able to withdraw into the hole, and you can easily net him. I can't help but imagine this came from a singular instance. Like there was a guy and another guy sitting on the edge of a circle pond, and one of them was like, hey, if you go into the middle of that and you got cheese, and if you put the cheese over, this big fish will come up, and then you have to spit tobacco juice in its eye. And, it's called the whiffin-poof. Yeah, so good luck with that. Because, I mean, like, the details are way too explicit. It's too easy to see this being used to gag someone. There are a ton of stories like this, by the way, of just people using an individual thing to make someone else go hunting for it. One of the best examples outside of narratives was, like, taxidermied things that were used to convince people there was something to go catch or hunt. The most famous example is the jackalope, right? The rabbit with the deer antlers. People would take a taxidermied rabbit and then these small deer antlers and put them on the rabbit and then tell people that, oh yeah, out west you can go hunting for these. And there'd be so many stories that would arise about like, well, they're rare because they can only breed during a lightning strike, like the micro instant of a lightning strike. There were states that sold permits to hunt them, but the permits were always on fictional dates, like the 31st of a month with only 30 days or something like that. So these stories would be bred off of just a taxidermy statue. Another example is the fur-bearing trout. again, a trout that is wrapped in rabbit's fur, so people would be convinced that if they stay at the fishing hole just a little bit longer, they might be able to catch one. Stories like that, stories that were immediately used as like a hazing ritual on newcomers to the area, are a lot of fun. And speaking of stories that were used as hazing rituals, we have what is probably the most famous fearsome critter, and the last one we're going to talk about today, the snipe. A common bird, occasionally seen but never yet caught, legions of sharp-eyed young foresters, engineers, cruisers, cookies, rodmen, and hard rock apprentices have made repeated, careful, and valiant attempts to corral one, but, notwithstanding the bushels of careful advice